Hi guys, and welcome back to another Let's Talk United podcast. And I mean, everyone knows Alexei. You know, it's usually me and Alexei that's on, but I'm happy to be joined with Ahmed. I mean, if you guys have watched any other podcasts, you'll know who he is. But he's not a regular on this. It's usually just me and Alexei. But Ahmed, obviously, I've watched you and Alexei talk just straight after Edward got. I was going to say sacked there, but he resigned.
Practically.
And I saw your raw emotions. So I want to see, after I mean, that's a few days that have gone by. I want to see how you react to it now and kind of what's your overall thoughts and opinions as times went on. But guys, this will be up on Spotify. As always, the Let's Talk United podcasts are. And if you haven't already, it'd be great if you could subscribe, follow us on the socials below. And yeah, I mean, I suppose we should just get started. So, I mean, this is really about what's up next for us because, I mean, this time last week I thought we were going to be in this Super League. We stuck here for a while and really nowhere else to go. You know, because there's no relegation. And if you win, that's fine. But if not, then, what else do you actually get? But I just want to know, Alexei, starting with you first. How do you feel now? After a few days have gone by, how do you feel about the Super League breakaway?
Yeah, I'm relieved, but there's still problems that need to be solved. Even Woodward leaving, it felt good at the time, but at the moment it looks like he's just going to get replaced with another Glazer puppet like Richard Arnold or something. So it's not, we're nowhere near there yet at all. You know, the Glazers are still running this club, and while I'm obviously really happy the Super League didn't go through, there's no point really celebrating any of this at the moment when they're still running the club, because there's nothing stopping them from pulling another stunt like this again. I mean, I just hope that we can all band together and just finally get them out of the club by campaigning and protesting against them. Obviously, there's a protest on Saturday at 3:00. Make sure you come. If you do come, obviously bring a mask and everything like that, and just follow COVID rules. And yeah, I just think my initial happiness about the Woodward news was just kind of dampened a bit, because I just kind of think now, they're still there. He was just the face of it, really. He's just the PR man of it. Behind the scenes, they're all still there, and it's all still pretty depressing, really.
I mean, I'm still really happy the fact that Woodward's went. I mean, you're obviously looking at it a different kind of perspective to me. I know we're not at the end of the road, and I know we've still got quite a while to go. I mean, guys, you probably know that as well. Even just from looking on Twitter, it's Glazers out, hashtag Glazers out everywhere. Keep that going, obviously. We're all kind of joined together now at the moment. No, United fans, we all know what needs to happen, what needs done to improve. And Ahmed, on to you, mate. I mean, I just kind of want to know what you think about it, because I mean, I'll let you know first how I think, because basically Ed Woodward, yes, he was the puppet, but it's one of the puppets away. You know, I mean, there's only so many of those guys in the industry and at the club. So hopefully we can push them even further away. And, Alexei, you've obviously been talking about the 51% of the club fan-owned. I don't know how possible that could actually be. I don't know much about how the club's actually ran behind the scenes, but I know it's not getting ran correctly, and I know that Bundesliga clubs are getting ran better. So let's hear it, Ahmed. It's great, obviously, to have you on. You know, it's been a while since we've been on a podcast together.
Yeah, it has been a long time. Yeah, good to be back. Well, as you all saw, my raw emotion from Tuesday night was as raw as you'd like it to be. I don't think I've been as elated as that since we beat City 2-0 on the last day United had Old Trafford had fans. I wasn't there, sadly, how I wish I was, but that news was exhilarating at first. But after you then kind of, when you have that moment, you then start to look through the mist a bit more. It's all, celebrations and elation at the first, but look through the mist, look through the tricky forest that you're going through, and you find that we do have more problems that are laying in front of us right now. One of which is obviously the situation with the Glazers and the statement Joel Glazer put out yesterday evening, which in more or less was nothing short of appalling for a man who doesn't communicate with a club he owns for over 15 years. I'm elated to be, let's say for now, I'm elated to say the club is starting to rebound a little bit. It's starting to somewhat feel like a club that we have a hold of again, but we're still far away from aiming for that particular goal just yet.
And I mean, do you not think though that to obviously grab hold of the club more if we can follow the kind of German style? And I mean, we've seen that today. They overran the training pitch, the United one, and they were holding up those banners with the 50+1. I mean, I think the work that we're doing is amazing, to be honest. And it's been, United, and it's been kind of all in a front. And I like to see you obviously be part of that on Saturday, which is great. And I urge everyone who can get involved to go and actually be involved and obviously wear a mask. Because, the club obviously heard this last time and it worked. So hopefully we'll hear this again. But yeah, I think what's going on with the Super League just now, it's quite embarrassing. Me and Alex obviously broke down Perez's interview, which went down great. Everyone was kind of outraged about that, but it was great to get it off our chest and break it down. And it just shows you the kind of people who are running this. And it looks like Real Madrid and Barcelona are all for it. Their board is, and it's as if they're wanting to keep going with it and push through. So I hope that in the summer we manage to move on and open up a clean slate, new chapter, and get rid of the Glazers. But I mean, Alexi, do you think this is like the end, the start of the beginning? Because now that Woodward's went, now that they've managed to kind of revolt against the Super League, do you think now is the time where the Glazers will leave?
I think there's a chance. There's a chance if we keep plugging away at this. This can't just be a thing that we all do for a few days, get bored of, and stop doing. We need to keep plugging away at it. Keep just stuff like tweeting. Keep tweeting stuff. Obviously, if you can, go to a protest. But even just tweeting, just constantly spreading awareness. We can't get bored of this. I mean, the reason why I think they could go is they've been trying to do this for years, trying to do this Super League thing to just finally milk all the life out of the club. And now this has failed. That's a big thing in their ownership that's not worked, because they've probably been banking on this for a few years that this would happen, and it's not happened. And also there's stuff like sponsors for Premier League clubs, they're not like taking part in talks yet of what's happened. And ultimately, if the money stops coming in, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that the Glazers will be out of there. No doubt in my mind. It's just whether the money does stop coming in. And I mean, one way, obviously, of getting them out, maybe government could introduce legislation that blocks sponsors to the club for a bit or something. I don't know. I'm not a politician, but, there's been talk of the 50+1 stuff. I think it's a great idea. Do I think the government are actually going to do it? No, because ultimately they've preserved their brand now. Because when all the Super League stuff was on the line, it was gung-ho from everyone. But you notice now kind of Sky have calmed down a bit about it. Like, they're telling us to calm down and take a step back and have a breather. So Sky don't really care anymore. The government thing is, now they've preserved their product. They don't care. They really don't. I might be wrong, but I can guarantee that nothing will happen from their end. So it is down to us now. It's down to us to keep caring about it and keep pushing the message.
Yeah, I think you were spot on whenever you said that the Glazers have obviously been trying to bank on this for years, expect it to actually happen. And it's got to this point now where I mean, we know that Joe Glazers from American football, that they're ruthless, and the way they go about their business, they don't like to be wrong. And it's like Roman Abramovich as well. They don't like to be wrong, but it's almost as if Joe Glazer, you know, he was the vice chairman of it all. He was really behind the scenes, and if you look at it now, I'm like, what have they got? What is their long-term ambition? They've not got one, because their long-term ambition was to get this 2.3 billion from the signing on fee of a founding club, which they won't get now. So I look at that and I think, what must be going through their heads at the moment? They've lost Ed Woodward, who was basically the puppet. And I know, I like to say, as you said, Richard Arnold will probably come in and, you know, fill a similar role. However, you know, I think it's just like, what is he actually filling? Because one, they're losing money. Two, they're never at the games. They don't care about the club. Why not just sell on? You know, they're not making any profit. I read something, there were a lot of money down. Like, it's not even just a bit. You know, I took out loans right at the very start, and when was it they took over? Maybe, I think it was 2005. I could be wrong. Yeah. And they're still trying to pay it back. And we're literally one of the richest clubs in the world. You know, where do we go from here? And I mean, obviously you can jump in whenever you want, but
sure,
for me, I think it is the beginning of the end. And especially, like, say, backing up your point, I feel as if everyone needs to unite, come together, and, you know, cause a bit of confusion at the club, cause a bit of, you know, issues. Like what they done today, it was spot on. The guys didn't cause any harm, no violence, and it works. That does work, and trust me, they'll know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what do you think about it all?
No, first of all, I applaud the tenacity of these gentlemen, this group of fans who've. I'm going to call them fans. They are not what others are, you know, titling them on social media today anything but fans. They're not that at all. They went there with a purpose to really, you know, stretch the, let's just say they're stretching United a little bit, because what's happened this week has more or less exposed a huge chunk of the, basically the parasite that is the ownership at our club. I take it off of Stephen Howson the other day, because I watch him avidly, and he's a very staunch advocate for, obviously, this new 50+1 rule and other stuff. But he said Woodward was basically the trunk of the tree. We now need to get to the roots, which are the Glazers. And the roots are not necessarily being chipped away. We've only just succeeded in, as a unit, as a group, being fans, at getting Woodward out of the way now. And if we act swiftly, I'm not expecting us to do it quickly, because this is not a rapid process, unfortunately. What we probably need to do is start thinking about, how do we enact an effort worthy enough of chipping away at the ownership? Because at the moment, they're not here, they're in Florida. They're currently in Tampa or wherever, dealing with their own little problems, but they will be rattled to the core. They will be feared about this fan revolt yet again. The major difference between now and 2010, of course, when we were protesting then for them to be leached out of the club, was obviously the value of Manchester United, and it's increased exponentially over the last decade. In 2010, it would have been more possible to have brought the club. We had the Red Knights trying their best to band together, get the money, had the money sorted, as I recall, for a Panorama documentary 10 years ago. They tried so many things to increase the odds of getting the club back from the Glazers, but somehow, some way, they, in the end, just couldn't do it. This time, I think we are in a much more unprecedented situation. They've tried to take us away from the Premier League and deny us of the Champions League, which, yes, we aim to reach every season, but that in some way is still taking something away from what the current players who have ambitions for playing in the competition, the fans who love watching the competition, And also, obviously, while it isn't the most affluent money maker in terms of gaining prize money from the winning the competition or going far in it, there's a prestige in the Champions League that you would never get with the Super League. And I, for one, don't think this is over for a long shot. This has still got plenty of mileage left to run. We've started one of these, I hope, wars that end in favor of the fans this time, because we missed out 10 years ago, and I felt sorry for those who obviously in 2005 protested about the purchase of the club, to trying to get them out in 2010. We've had feeble attempts ever since between then and now. I think now, though, hopefully with Saturday being a catalyst, I wish I could be there, but permitting that I would have not been able to. If I was not commenting on Saturday, I'd definitely be there. But one thing is for sure, I'm absolutely worried for the fallout of this and the possible punishments or even sanctions that may come, because there's still a lot to achieve from this season for United on the pitch. So I fear as a club we're going to be penalised, but at the same time, anything that helps get the owners out sooner rather than later would be ideal.
I mean, I hope it happens soon. I'm literally counting down the days, and I think our days are numbered. It's getting to that point where I'm literally at the edge of my seat and I'm watching Sky Sports News, and I'm like, this is going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
And one man, Alexi, I need to disagree with you on that point, though. The one man that keeps pushing this and keeps pushing it and almost campaigns against the Glazers now is Gary Neville. And he knows that it's not over. And I hope that Gary Neville can use his voice, he can use his opinions. And
yeah, but do you really? Don't get me wrong, I love Gary Neville. I think he's brilliant. But do you really think Gary Neville's going to be there on Saturday, for example?
No, I don't think that. But I think that
in a way, he has no excuse considering it's going on next to his hotel.
He can do it in different ways. I don't expect him to be there, but he could do it on Sky Sports. He could do it on Twitter, which he has been doing. And I think that is a turning point, because he didn't used to do that, and it's almost kind of got to that stage where he's got nothing to give the owners. And it seems as if a lot of the players have got nothing to give to the owners either, by the looks of it. Even with Maguire, seemed to obviously kind of lead the charge, which I think was amazing against Ed Woodward.
Thing is, do you know what's going to happen though? This is what I can see happening: is channels like Sky and BT are going to be told by the Premier League, you need to stop talking about this now because you're bringing negativity on our product, and we're trying to get new sponsors and stuff like that. That's what will happen. I don't know if either of you guys watched what game was it yesterday? It was the first game at 6 o'clock. I can't remember what game it was.
Spurs Southampton.
Yeah, I was watching the talking before, and it was Jamie Redknapp and Darren Bent, and they were going, "Oh, you just all need to calm down, guys." And it's like, even like in the media, how like all these papers were pretending to stand up for us 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking now. I mean, there's reasons for this, but the Sun Sport, Man United fans let the club down just like the Glazers by storming Carrington. There are better ways to force a change. See, it's already vilifying fans for standing up to them. And it's going to be like that across the media, because they all have their interests. The Sun, Neil Ashton, Ed Woodward's PR man, used to be a leading writer for The Sun. Yeah. It's corrupt. It's all corrupt. Sky aren't going to want that much negativity. I bet they tell Neville to shut up. I bet they do, because they're not going to want negativity on their product when they're trying to rebuild trust and stuff like that. So it really is down to us. And what's going to happen is we're going to get vilified. I can guarantee that. We are going to get vilified for speaking out about this. And that's why we've got to do it in the most peaceful way and in the most COVID safe way, because you just can't give them any, any reason.
Leg room.
Any leg room to villainize us, basically.
Yeah, I agree. It's not good at all what they're trying to do. You could be like, just on our side because it's really the how I like to say, it's just the trend of the day or the trend of the time. You look at it now and you see that they've gone back to the hypocritical ways. Some of them, in particular, the one that I don't like talking about out of respect for the fact that they are just a terrible publication. Most red tape ones are. But frankly, I don't like the fact they're just using the fact that we've had fans raiding into, like they say, raiding the training ground or breaking into the training ground. They didn't break in. Maybe, who knows? They could have they would have pre-planned this. They would have either like asked security nicely, or because they're being overwhelmed them or whatever. I don't know. They did something. They managed to get into the training ground today, and they did what they felt was right. And look, you have to give props where they do. Why do you criticize them? Because you want to satisfy the people who, are on the contradictory side of the situation in terms of the in terms of being a publication. You hypocritically analyze one thing, and then when you look at it from the other side, no, we'll report that instead because that looks a lot more viable in terms of making our readers happy than it is actually reporting the fact at the time.
Ahmed, I was just thinking about this then. So obviously we know that publication, which I don't like to name either because it's just fucking disgusting. Obviously they vilified Liverpool fans, they vilified a lot of football fans, but they're owned by Rupert Murdoch. And obviously Rupert Murdoch is also involved in Sky.
And Fox and all that stuff as well, yeah.
And all the people who own some kind of rights to the Premier League and stuff like that. So it's just... we're back to this kind of thing of the elitist circle. The only reason we broke the elitist circle for 2 days was because their product was under threat. Now they've got their product back. Make no mistake, Gary Neville might care, and I think he genuinely does, and Carragher probably cares as well. Most of them, though, will just be told, don't say anything negative now, and they'll just go with it, because a lot of the pundits are puppets. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but people like Jamie Redknapp, who just kind of there just to be nice and just calm and not really have an opinion.
He's there to get mud thrown at, really. That's the only thing I see him there for.
See, Alexi, what I think about that is like your guys like Gary Neville obviously need to stand up and they know what's right for football. But I mean I've seen this on Twitter and it's like, Kroenke in, Glazers must stay, they've served their purpose, they're great, as a joke. And I'm like, see, for having Stan Kroenke and these type of guys in the industry, it gives the other guys, time to think, what? Maybe I do have a chance. Maybe I do have a chance of making profit. And, these guys just look at it as a business and they look at it as a global brand. They don't look at it as a football club at all. They don't care about the fans, which is my main reason for why I don't like it. And I understand we can't always turn over profit with one of the biggest clubs in the world. We buy players, for crazy amounts of money. It's just one of those things where I'm sick and tired of constantly going back to the Glazers, constantly being on Twitter seeing, love United, hate Glazers. Like, there needs to be more than that. And especially for the guys who are around about the area, they need to, as you say, say what you're doing on Saturday, this needs to keep up. It needs to be the start. It needs to be the first proper point, and I'm hoping there is thousands of people there with masks on safely, because there's absolutely no point in doing it without a mask on. That will lead to other complications, which I think anyone can really be bothered with. So don't bother going if you're going to do that. Just take a day out, because it's not like that. It needs to be controlled, and we need to be heard. And I mean, as you said, they're in Tampa watching the Buccaneers play. They don't care about us. They'll still keep
2.5 months. There's on the off season, but
Ahmed, you
raised the point.
Right now, what did you say there? Sorry, just after I was talking about the Buccaneers. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's the off season for them. That happens with my internet sometimes. But yeah, it's the off season in America now, so they don't have any games on, which is a bit annoying because you have, when the season ends with the Super Bowl, You have a 6-month period between February and September to do everything you could with Manchester United. But no, we'll stay in Tampa, just fix up other things and stuff like that. So it baffles me really that we sit here now talking about this. I mean, we're pretty much better than most people on the Man United board for a start. We are communicating. That's something they haven't done for 15 years. That we're sitting here now and trying to think of the better things for our club. Obviously, people have different ideas or different opinions. Another annoying element I have to say was something I caught watching The Terrace this afternoon. Terry Flewis does a great show, and he's very outspoken person as a Man United fan. Something I gathered from him today, talking to a fan who I had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. It was basically like one of those calling shows he does every day. And this one was about, Ole Solskjaer tomorrow in his press conference, using that as a way of saying, exposing the Glazers for what they are, because obviously he didn't support their takeover when they came in 2005, and he was at the club at the time, being a member for Must and everything, saying that he'll expose them for everything they do, and then as soon as he does that, walk out from the club. And then as Terry asks him a question which I find to be a decent, challenging question. Say, for example, those who have been brought up by the club, your McTominays, your Rashfords, your Greenwoods, who all have contracts at the club, say they do what Ollie does tomorrow and up sticks and leave Manchester United, would you support the club then? It's like, it would be the best thing for Manchester United ever, everything for Man United, if Ollie left and the players that were, loyal to the club, that care about the club, but hate the Glazers, left as well. That just sounds ludicrous. And it sounded childish in my opinion. I think Ollie's in the job because he cares and loves the club in a way that's different to what he describes it. And I find that insulting. So as a United fan, I find it insulting that he thinks that all Ollie has to do to get respect from the fans or the so-called, opposed to him being the manager, is to expose the owners and then just say, because I'm a United fan, I love this club, I can't manage it anymore, so I'll up sticks. No. It doesn't work like that. He's in the best job in the world. He's here on not merit, because obviously Woodward brought him in a time of crisis. We needed a manager to plug the gap. In the end, he stayed and he's done a fantastic job. You have no idea, really, what the actual problem is. The actual problem we have is when an owner doesn't invest in something, you haven't got the sort of progress or the backing that people are expecting from a competent and a reliable group of people. Joel Glazer is the exact opposite of reliable. He doesn't invest in Manchester United the way we'd like him to. Just because you spend one-time transfer fees on Harry Maguire and Paul Pogba and Romelu Lukaku, for example, doesn't mean that you can pretend to sit in Tampa and think my job is done. I've done my business now. Yeah. I can focus on paying my NFL players. It's not right. He should do a much more productive and hands-on job in trying to give Manchester United what they need to become successful again. The reason why I'm not looking at you is because I have a picture of him on my screen. So I'm pretending I'm talking to him. Basically, it's like a YouTube capture, but I've got him right there, so I'm pretending I'm talking to him. Basically, what you should do at this point is shut up. Either don't come to Manchester and expect a standing ovation for what you've done. You will be vilified the minute you land there. The same would apply to Henry and Liverpool. The minute you land in Manchester, don't be surprised to see bottles, eggs, whatever being tossed at you, because you are basically public enemy number one now. You have only got two options. You either get out of what belongs to us, the fans, that's our club, so we can kick on and progress the way we want it to be progressed. Or if you're not looking to get out of our club, the least you can do is make it hospitable enough and change a lot of things around it. The thing I don't like is obviously that today something's in the pipeline or something's being rumoured that he isn't very keen on selling Manchester United. I don't like that. But in the end, there's only so much we can do as fans. We don't like having to give you money because we are, let's say, for example, magnanimous in how we treat the club. We love the football team and the manager, but we don't love you, right? We don't love what you're doing because you're taking something away from us, something that many years back worked hard for. So,
I mean, I'm going to stop you there, sorry, and see about Glazer. I mean, keep him up on your screen because, throw everything at your room at him. I absolutely hate him as well. But,
I'm
everyone
tempted.
has a lot of stick for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and, his job's been on the line for basically every couple of weeks. And, what I find funny, and I mean, you started off in that point and then you kind of went on to the Glazers. But see, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I would much rather have him as a manager than, let's say, like a Thomas Tuchel or, basically like a high-profile manager who will come in and, this is the key word, change the philosophy. Because United's philosophy is, I don't really like watching United apart from them playing with our philosophy that I know since I've been growing up. It's Alex's time. And I think Ole's trying to bring that back. Whereas, people just push agendas and get it all mixed up. And even you look at us, for example, who's sitting here, we get quite a lot about the fact that, we're just trying to make money. We're trying to, just grow. And we don't actually care about the club. Which is quite funny because, I'm actually doing quite a lot of work behind the scenes with the Manchester United Supporters Club. And, I'm a member of it. We're all trying to, do our part. I might be in a different country, but I still like the club. I still love the club. I've grown up supporting United. And what is funny is I would much rather have guys who know the club well, who's going to support the club and, be there for the rest of their life, really. And people like Joel Glazers, who are basically dinosaurs, American millionaires who, have not really got much of a future, do they? Let's be honest. The quicker that happens, the better for them to move on. And, I mean, I can't even really say much more. I mean, we're going to talk about our raw opinions. That's kind of my opinions on the matter. I think we've got the right guys, down towards his team end. But I think right up in the top of the board, I think it's just lost, and it's been lost for years, but it's just been overshadowed the fact that Sir Alex Ferguson's just the best manager ever, and he can cope under any situation. But now we're finally seeing the downsides. But you also need to remember the fact that Sir Alex Ferguson had terrible transfer windows. Like it's not even comparable to now. I remember the year whenever Ronaldo left, we signed Michael Owen, Antonio Valencia, and Gabriel Bertan. I mean, who? And David Gill was a great guy behind the scenes for such a tough scenario. Whereas Ed Woodward was not a football guy. He wasn't a football head, which you definitely need in that scenario. And my last question for you guys, kind of what's off that, and it's who would you actually want to take over from Ed Woodward? Do you want it to be, obviously we know that John Murtough is, taking over the head of football, but who would you want to actually take over Ed Woodward? Do you want it to be, someone who knows the club well, who's already in the club, or, just someone who has done it elsewhere in the world? Who would be ideal, Alexi, for you?
Well, the obvious one's Edwin van der Sar, isn't it? I think he'd be the right choice. There's no reason I see against that. In terms of if I was in charge, I'd appoint him. But there's no way Edwin van der Sar will go and work for the Glazers. There's no way the Glazers will appoint Edwin van der Sar. It just doesn't make sense. They need someone who's just going to be basically a puppet for them, and Edwin van der Sar won't want to do that. I mean, I tweeted the other day that Gary Neville could be a possibility, and people thought it was because of his punditry. But people actually forget it's nothing to do with his punditry why I think he should be there. He runs 66 businesses in Manchester. He runs a football club. He's been a coach. He's obviously been a player. He's got more experience than most. He knows a lot more about football than Ed Woodward ever did. People kind of think like
people think he's an idiot and he's just to do this guy. But yeah, I mean, we know more than that.
Yeah.
And Alexei, you know what? I mean, you're involved in this conversation as well about Salford City. The fact that Gary Neville sacks managers, he's not got a right to say, look, this European Super League is wrong. Like, that's probably one of the funniest things I've read for, and I actually had at me for like a while. You know, the fact that Gary Neville can't have a say and it's hypocritical for him to actually speak.
And also, if we're going down that road, none of us should have a say about anything ever because we've all bought something from the club at some point.
Yeah.
Guilty so if we're going down that road, not a single fan can seriously say they've never done anything. And also, Gary Neville has as much right, if not more right, than we do in a way because he's done so much for the club. He's grown up with nothing. And it's like Jurgen Klopp digging him out the other night. It was really weird as well. I mean,
he's literally obsessed with Gary Neville. I mean, I was watching that interview as well, like saying, I was just like, what are you doing? You know, it was almost like it was like Klopp was making it personal. He's making it as if it was like him versus Gary Neville and not the big factor of there's literally a Super League that's starting which will ruin club football forever.
I know.
And it makes it personal. It's like, why are you creating a divide? Because that was not what Gary Neville was intending to do. And it was so clear. I mean, whenever I heard them actually say that about Liverpool, and you're like, just come to terms with the fact that it's not well ran, and you need to stand up with Gary Neville alongside him and actually come together as a group and stand against him, which he didn't do. And I don't think Klopp should get praised for his work that he's done because personally, he's done nothing. All he's done is trying to bring down the reliability of Gary Neville, who is probably the biggest advocate against the European Super League. But Ahmed, on to you, mate. Just the last points before we log off. I mean, obviously, it's been quite a political one today. But yeah, I mean, I have enjoyed it. We've kind of dug into the Glazers and Woodward.
It's been fun, hasn't it? To answer your question before we do sign off, who would I want at Man United? Well, first of all, can they understand how to play a game of football first? That's something we kind of need. I can't believe the story came out in Sky this week about it wasn't. I don't know if it was United related because he never exposed it. But for someone to arrive at a football stadium with literally no idea what color their team is playing in, it baffled me. I'm thinking, really, you invest money into this, thinking you're only thinking about later on, rather than just the fact that they're playing on the pitch and you haven't even done like even the smallest amount of research into what their setup is. That's why someone with football
understand the offside rule as well, Ahmed.
No,
quite an interesting one.
I mean, it's more confused with VAR nowadays, but to be honest with you, yeah, they need to understand just the basics of football or as much of the game as they can. I don't expect them to know everything. If they've played the sport, at least that'd be ideal. Play for United, that's hard. We don't have a lot of well qualified men able to fulfill that role, or women. Actually, you never know. I feel like anyone who's got a good footballing brain and just understands the background elements of running a football club on a day-to-day basis, they just have to understand what challenges they will face. So Van der Sar being the obvious shout is one thing, yes. The others that I could possibly think of, I really love Monchi at Sevilla. I've always idolized, he's always idolized for me what you should do as a football club. But he's been at Roma for a little while as well. I think a couple of years over there, brought in the likes of Salah and the likes of Xhaka a few years back, Manolas as well. Some talent that he got for cheap and sold for much more later on. Or in terms of making a good buck from players that have succeeded at clubs like Sevilla and Roma. I've idolized him, but he's a staunch man in Seville, so.
But I mean, do you not think that we need someone who knows the club rather than bringing in someone from overseas?
Of course, yes, I think we
Or-
should.
No, I just want to hear what you think, because personally, for me, I would really like to have someone who knows the club, knows the structure of the club, the philosophy, the type of players that we need, rather than a guy overseas who, yes, I'm not denying the fact that this guy knows his stuff, but does he really know the club? And I think that's how we are succeeding. I would call it succeeding at the moment with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because he knows the club, he knows how to play, he knows to get the best out of the players and use the youth.
Do you know the thing though, Robbie? Sorry. Just whoever comes in, it's not. The reason why I don't think it's going to be a Van der Sar is they're going to have to do all the dirty work that Woodward previously did, and Woodward was. I didn't like Woodward at all, but he was always vilified in our heads, so it didn't make that much difference to his PR, him doing the dirty work. But someone like Van der Sar probably isn't going to want to do it, really, which is why, while they're there, the Glazers are there, it's just hard to see, personally, someone like that doing it. But sorry, Ahmed, I interrupted you.
No, it's all right. Alexi, you raised a very good point, because with them being at the club, they won't bring in some, unless they listen to the fans, which I feel like would be now a bit more important, having seen what's happened this week. If they listen to the fans, maybe it could help them in making a decision. But that's a subject for another day. So for now, personally, Van der Sar's the easy target, but he's tied to Ajax, and Ajax is basically his home club. He wouldn't leave unless he felt like he wanted a new challenge. So Gary Neville is a compelling case, but I feel like he's better off with the freedom of expression on Sky and being able to say what he likes there, rather and then just focus on his own club. He's already got enough on his plate already, and as you said, Alexi, 66 businesses in Manchester. That's a problem enough for him as it is. Ideal candidate for me. I haven't got a name off the top of my head. There will be some good ones out there. But if they're competent enough to pick them and deal with the mess that Woodward's set to leave behind. So over time, we'll see who will be like the number one target. But for me, two fundamentals have to be met. One is you have to be able to understand the game. That's a very important thing, because if you don't understand even football, then you're going to probably just listen to what they'll say and not act on the fans' wishes. And the other being that if they are capable of handling this period while the Glazers are here, and hopefully for not much longer, if they're able to handle that, then I hope that they are able to fix some of the problems that have been left behind. In fact, a bonus, as you said, Robbie, at least know the club. Know the club. Understand what you're getting into, so that you don't have to be like we've said with would be vilified for every decision you make. So, club legend status, understand the game or have played the game, and be able to fix the mess and try and integrate new ways of making the club a better hierarchy for the future.
Yeah, so guys, obviously it's been a pleasure having you on. It's been quite we've actually, stayed into the time frame that we were aiming for. I thought it would actually roll over, because we were talking about the Glazers, we were talking about Ed Woodward, who we all jointly hate as much.
We didn't even cover transfers, Robbie, and that's incredible. We still haven't even touched transfers. Incredible. That's another one, eh? That's one for another day.
Oh yeah, man. I'm pretty sure we could talk about this for a while. We could break into a lot of different podcasts, because there's so much to talk about, and we're just opening the can of worms at the moment. So guys, follow us on Trafford Talk if you haven't already. It'll be up on Spotify if you prefer to listen to the audio version. But yeah, thanks for watching, and don't give up now. And the protest is on. Alexi, what time is it on Saturday? Just so everyone can.
3:00.
Right. Okay. So 3:00, guys. If you can, it'd be great if you can be there. If not, then stay active on Twitter, stay active on social media to push the fact that the Glazers need to leave. they need to sell on the club. So yeah, Glazers out.